Welcome to the Alabama Direct Admission Initiative webinar. I am Samara Angel, and I'm the Strategy Manager for Post-Secondary Access here at Alabama Possible. We are joined this morning by our partners at EAB, who will review the direct admissions process, give you all the updates for year two, share new resources, and more, so we'll get started. We would like to start off by taking the time to thank our sponsors. Because of their support, we're able to provide trainings for free. We would also like to thank our partners from the Alabama Commission on Higher Education, the Alabama Community College System, Alabama State Department of Education, and Get Educated, which is the Common Black College application. We also would love to see how your college going efforts are going on social media. So if you post them on social media, tag us at AL Goes to College, and don't forget to use the following hashtags. So I'd like to start off with some housekeeping notes. Please keep your microphone on mute at all times. Please disable any AI note takers unless accommodations are needed. Please let us know by sending us a message. This webinar will be recorded and posted to youtube.com/Alabama Possible within the next 2 days. You'll also be receiving a follow-up email with a PDF of today's slides and some additional resources. Submit your questions in the chat and we will answer them throughout and towards the end of the webinar. And then we value everyone's feedback, but it is especially important for high school educators seeking professional development credit to stay until the very end to answer the final set of poll questions to receive full credit. And then I'll pass it over to May for the poll questions.
All right. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to launch a poll that you should see on your screen momentarily. You should see that now. So we're going to talk about this in a lot more detail. So if you're not even sure what an educator account is, don't worry, we'll get there. But if you are familiar with this initiative, does someone, at least one person on your team at your school, already have an educator account on Match? So we'll talk today about students creating their own profiles and then educators creating their own accounts to be able to track student level direct admission data. And like CMR mentioned, we do have poll questions at the end that are important for professional development credit. So this is a good opportunity for you to test that the polls are working on your side, get everything figured out before our end of webinar polls too. All right, so it looks like 81% of people do already have an account. So that's great news. We'll definitely be following up after the webinar today to get you all connected to an educator account so you can really take advantage of all the great data that's available to track your students. But I'll go ahead and close out this poll and turn it back over to y'all.
So let's start with what makes the Alabama Goes to College campaign. There are 4 main components. Last year, we launched the Alabama Direct Admissions Initiative, which connected students with real admission offers by creating one simple free profile where no applications or essays are required. And you would definitely get a lot more details in today's webinar. Next, we have the Cash for College initiative, which is the goal is for graduating seniors to complete the FAFSA before they graduate. This way, they can gain access to federal, state, and institutional aid. And just to get the latest updates for FAFSA, we have our in-person FAFSA Summit in Montgomery on September 9th. So if you cannot join us for in-person, we also have virtual webinars, which you'll get more details towards the end of this webinar. Next, we have the Alabama College Application Week, which is part of a national effort to help first-generation and low-income students navigate the college application and admissions process. Next week, we'll be kicking off college application season with a webinar, which will all go into details about Free College Application Week, which this year will fall on October 5th to the 9th. So register for that webinar to get more details. And then we have our College and Career Decision Day, which celebrates every senior's next step, whether that is a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree, credential, military, or a skilled trade. And you can check for all our events on our events page on our website. And now I'll hand it over to Corey and our partners at EAB.
Thanks, Samara. Hi, everybody. For those of you who may be new around here and haven't seen my face or met me yet, I'm Corey Smolzer, the Director of Strategic Partnerships with the Match team. I'm also joined by my colleague that you'll hear from today, Marissa Gambardella. She is Match's Director of Growth and Engagement, and she will also be supporting the program and you all this year. We're thrilled to kick off year 2 of the Alabama Direct Admission Initiative. And again, for those of you that are a little bit new, Match is the platform powering the program for all the students, counselors, and educators, as well as our college partners. I'd love to take just a quick look with you all at what we'll cover for the next hour. So Marissa and I are going to go over insights into the impact in year 1 of the program briefly. We'll then jump into an overview of the Alabama Direct Admission program, the colleges participating this year, and updated timeline insights. Marissa will provide also a full walkthrough of the counselor and educator Match account setup, a preview of the student experience and journey on Match when they create their profiles and get their offers, as well as a counselor and educator dashboard demo in the platform live. Then we'll jump into just reviewing some next steps and updated resources and materials that are available for you all to get started if you haven't done so already. And then we'll end with a brief Q&A session just to make sure you all feel comfortable and leaving confident at the end of this. So I'm going to dive in and just start with the celebrating with you all. I'm reviewing the overall impact that we had for students in year 1. So in this slide, it breaks down year 1 overall performance of the offers of admission that went out. So in year 1, a total of 100 colleges, both in-state and out-of-state, extended over 220,000 admission offers to Alabama seniors. And those offers carried more than $7.3 billion in scholarship opportunities for students, which is incredible in a year 1 program like this statewide. Students accepted over 50,000 of those offers, so 50,584 to be exact. And so how that played out was, on average, each of the students who got offers accepted 3 offers of admission. And then for our 38 participating Alabama colleges, they made roughly a little over 141,000 of those offers. So that came out to about 2/3 of the statewide total. And for students who got offers from in-state opportunities, 37,927 of those offers were accepted. So I did want to show you all just a bit of a breakdown of where those offers came from and how that played out for our college partners. So for our 4-year Alabama college partners, there were 118,432 offers extended, and a little over 36,000 of those offers were accepted. That's about a 31% acceptance rate overall, which was our strongest conversion anywhere in this breakdown that you see. And then on the 2-year colleges in-state side, they extended a little over 22,900 offers of admission to students, and then 1,827 of those offers were accepted. That's about an 8% acceptance rate. For students who wanted out-of-state options, they received offers from actually over 60 out-of-state colleges that extended pretty close to 80,000 offers. And they saw about 12,600 or so of those offers were accepted. That is, I know there's a lot of data here, but I did want to break this down for you all, but that is a 36% of all offers overall from the 220,000. And about a quarter of those were accepted. So 25% of those offers were accepted from students. I think that is a good reminder that, Alabama students are being actively recruited nationally as well as in state. And a program like this, the direct admissions program, it can really make sure that they see what is available at home and alongside those national options, and just really see the affordability kind of side by side. Every number on this slide, again, I know it was a lot to take in, but we want to be as transparent as possible and what happened and how that, again, played out. Every number on the slide started with a college really choosing to make a proactive offer to your students. When a student sees a real acceptance as well as a real scholarship dollar attached to that offer, it's clear that they engage. And over 50,000 of those offers were accepted in year 1. And I think that's really the exciting proof and story here, to see how effective it was. Marissa, you can continue on, because I think the one thing that we want to highlight is that those year one numbers only happen because of the colleges that showed up, right? So we do want to talk about who is at the table for the class of 2027 this year. We will have 17 participating four-year Alabama institutions for the program. 16 of them are returning partners in all of the four-year institutions. They did see what direct admissions was able to do for them, and more importantly, for the students in year one. And they all came back. So we're super excited to have them all back. And we are also welcoming one brand new partner. We're excited to welcome Talladega College as our newest four-year partner in state to the program. The Alabama Community College system will not be included in this initiative this year. We know that there were some questions that we had gotten prior to the webinar about this, and just general feedback on how that process worked for them, and that there was confusion and just overall rockiness from that perspective. And so again, wanted to be transparent on that they will not be participating this year. But we are working to ensure that every student has at least one opportunity to consider through our four-year institution partners this year. On the left-hand side, you're actually going to see a graphic of institutions in the state and where that is broken down. We'll also, in follow-up from this webinar, send an email from Alabama Possible with the full list of out-of-state colleges and universities that are on map. But here on the in-state partners, you're going to see where they're located. And this will actually be available on a poster in the Resource Center for the Alabama Direct Admission website, which we'll cover later in the presentation on where that's at, but it is printable so that you can put that up for students to see and be able to see where those schools are. So I do want to jump into, for again, those who might be a little bit new, I just want to quickly cover the program, and that it uses a streamlined direct admission model that is designed to make college admissions process more simple and more accessible for students. And so how that works, students begin by completing a very simple match profile that you'll see later today with Marissa. And their unofficial transcript is the only required document for this process. This process does take usually students about 10 to maybe 15 minutes to complete. Students will then be sent direct admission opportunities from all the participating colleges that they're eligible for, both in-state, and if they want out-of-state opportunities, they can see those too. All of the offers they receive are real offers of admission and scholarship opportunities that are awarded to those students individually. So for students, that means no applications at all, or application fees are part of the process. No essays or letters of recommendation, and more importantly, no rejections happen through this program. Only admission offers from colleges that want them. If a student accepts their offers, they should not be asked by institutions to apply again. We do ask, if you're experiencing that or you see that with your students, to please flag that to the match team, and we will handle that directly with the institution, because they should not be asking students to apply again. On the right-hand side, you'll see the key dates to keep on your radar. September 14th is the primary profile deadline. And direct admission offers may be released as early as October 1st for those participating seniors. So as long as they meet the September 14th deadline, they will get those in-state offers on October 1st. Now, we recognize that there will be some seniors who maybe don't meet that deadline right away, because we did make it a bit earlier this year, but by design, we wanted to separate some of free application week, have those offers come beforehand so that they knew what their plan was going into there. But we did set up a secondary profile deadline on October 9th, the end of that week, followed by the secondary offer release that will actually happen on October 19th. This is also when the out-of-state offers will be delivered for students as well. So again, if your student indicated that they wanted out-of-state offers, that is when they will get them. Any student who misses those two deadlines, just as a reminder for those who are returning and for those who are new, students can submit by the 1st of each month and all the way through June. So they will receive opportunities, say they miss the September deadline, the October deadline, as long as they submit by November 1st, December 1st, January 1st, about 2 weeks after that, they will receive those opportunities. Our recommendation is sooner is always best, due to like scholarship availability and just spots at institutions. So we highly recommend trying to get students in by at least that September, October deadline. Now, Marissa is going to shift gears and talk about what that means for you all, the educator and counselor experience, and how you can use the Match platform to support students. So I will hand that over to her.
Thank you, Corey. Hi, everyone. I have been responding to some of the questions that have come through in the chat that are related to the overall platform. So we'll get to things like uploading transcripts, how that works. We're going to get to archiving last year's class as well. So we'll be able to walk through all of those pieces in greater detail. So my name is Marissa Gambardella. I'm the Director of Growth and Engagement for Match. So myself and my team are the folks that are supporting counselors and students that use our software. So really excited to be supporting this initiative this year. We're going to walk through, again, like your role as an educator. We're going to take a look at the process from the student's perspective, from your perspective, and then we're actually going to dive into the software together. So really excited to get this rolling. So let's first talk about the role that you all play as educators in this process. Just kind of in anticipation of this, I do use the word counselor just as sort of a blanket term. Just know that if you are, maybe your title is different, know that when I refer to counselor, I'm going to do my best to say educator. But if I refer to counselor, I just mean the person that's supporting students through their university search and application process. So your role in this process is essentially being our sort of like the champion, right, on your campus. So you are going to help get the word out about this initiative this year. We have a lot of really awesome resources that we've created to make that easy for you to do. So you'll be sharing these onboarding resources with students and of course encouraging them to participate, but you will also play a role in kind of supporting with the transcript upload, and we'll get into that process in greater detail a little bit later on. So of course, supporting in the kind of activation process, the profile completion process, but then when offers land in early October, of course, you'll be the folks that are celebrating with students on your campus. For many students, these are going to be, for most students likely, the first acceptances that they receive. So it is a really exciting moment. It's definitely something to celebrate. And I know last year, Corey would share with the team any feedback that she got from counselors and kind of the excitement in the hallways. So I'm looking forward to being able to experience that again this year. And then, of course, once offers land, we, of course, have communications that we send to students and they get all sorts of reminders from us, but you'll also be the person to go to help them guide through sort of what comes next, because there are steps right after students receive acceptances where, they're having to engage with those offers, and you can help support us in that as well. Okay, so in order to be able to support your students in this process, for the 20% of you who do not already have an educator account on Match, that's going to be your first step. So we have a QR code that you're able to scan that'll bring you to the account request page. I think we also may be dropping that link in the chat as well. So you'll be able to go through and register and get access to your Match account. If you are requesting an account during this session today, we are going to go in and approve them later this afternoon. So just give us a bit of time before you're able to get access to the platform. So once the request comes in, we have to go in and approve it. And at which point you would get an email letting you know your account's been approved and you'd be able to log in and to access at that point. For just a few call outs here on best practices for career coaches, the recommendation is that you're using the high school counselor account type. So it'll ask you sort of your role at the school. Again, when we say counselor, we mean the person that's supporting the student in their post-secondary kind of review process. If you are working at a CBO or you're supporting multiple high schools, we will ask during the sign-up process, you'll have to select one primary school, but you can then email counselorengagement@eab.com. Let us know the schools that you're supporting, and we can go in and attach you to multiple schools sort of on the back end. This is work that I know that Corey and folks did last year in our system. If there are kind of common high school names, we have kind of bracketed and put Alabama after the name of the school. So look out for that as well. If you're creating an account, if you're new to the program this year, that the school name may have Alabama in brackets afterwards. And so once you get access to the platform, this is the tool essentially that you'll be using to support your students all throughout this initiative. So we're going to have a helpful dashboard. We'll walk through all of those features and those details together, but requesting an account is really the first step that'll allow everything else to sort of flow from here.
Marissa, before you move forward, can you just repeat one more time for career coaches, the process for them with their account?
For career coaches, we're asking for you to select the high school counselor account type. So that is when you're signing up, it's going to ask you for your role at the school. If you're a career coach, you would be selecting the high school counselor account type.
And that's like a match specific account type. It's a very generalized account type that we use specifically on our platform nationwide. So,
Great.
But it's going to align you to get the best access to what you need. And if you are a career coach that has or is working with multiple schools within the district, you will need to email us directly so that you can get attached to all the schools that you do support.
Correct. Yes. Counselor, as I mentioned, is just a blanket term that we use. We actually work internationally. So it is something that it's just a blanket term. It could be a career coach. It could be an advisor. It could be a guidance counselor. It's just the person that's supporting the student in their post-secondary search. All right. So now that we have this step sorted, right, we're all requesting accounts to be able to access the platform, to be able to be that support person for our students this year. Let's walk through what the student experience will be. So we're going to walk through sort of all of the steps and the stages of the match process that your students will experience to give you the context and help to kind of contextualize this for your students. So let's walk through what this process will look like. So once counselors or career coaches or educators have access to the platform, you are also getting access to resources that are going to support your students in this first step, which is the profile creation process. So as Corey mentioned, this is designed to be simple. This is something that takes students roughly 10 to 15 minutes to complete. So it's approachable, but it allows students to share enough about their interests, their search criteria, their preferences that would allow them to be matched with the right types of institutions that are a fit for what they are looking for. So the profile, it contains basic information. There is the transcript component piece, which we'll talk about. So beyond the profile, the only other required information that a student is sharing and the only supplemental document is going to be a transcript. The transcript has to contain all their grades from freshman year on up. So 3 final years of grades would be included in that. We have a few different ways that transcripts can be provided. I do also want to note that the recommendation we received from colleges is that if the student has an ACT score of 18 or higher, that they're encouraged to include it. So again, that's just the recommendation, that score of 18 or higher is what they're recommending that students include. But beyond that, it's just a simple profile and it's a transcript being uploaded. So in order to build profiles, we're going to quickly take a look at some of the resources that we have that make this process really easy for you. We know as educators, especially at this time of year, there are so many things happening on campus, and we wanted to make this as approachable as possible so that you can get as many students involved so they can kind of reap the benefits that Corey mentioned earlier, all the really awesome results that we saw last year. So we have a few different options, some that are more student driven, some that can be sort of educator driven. We have a full onboarding video, which is roughly 25 minutes. It's something where if you have students together, you can project it, click play, and the students are able to follow along. And the students would receive in that video an overview of this process. So what is this? Why are we doing it? What's the timeline for me? But it also walks them through the entire profile creation and completion process. So we walk through the profile question by question. When students are building their profiles, just a note from last year, I think the recommendation is to use a personal email account. So in case they lose access to their school email account later on, it does not need to be kind of a school domain email address. The student is able to use a personal email. Just being mindful that if students are creating their profiles on campus at school, it needs to be an inbox that they're able to access, since there is a password, an email verification step. So the video is a really great live option. We also have a full onboarding presentation. So this is a complete slide deck that, again, you're able to kind of control the pacing of a bit more if you are presenting to students live. And again, that'll include screenshots of the platform, something that's very easy for you to sort of plug and play and guide students through. And then the final option is kind of more student driven. We have an onboarding guide that students are able to follow along. Again, that's leading them to the landing page they need to visit to build their profile. It includes screenshots. It makes it really simple for students to follow along. And we even have sort of email copy and drafts of emails that you can plug and play to get this out to students quickly and easily. So lots of really flexible ways to get students involved. And in fact, I'm going to flip over. We already have a large number of students that are getting involved. So one of the fun things that I've been doing kind of throughout the day is we have, of course, like our own data, and it's just fun to refresh and see we have hundreds of profiles that have been created every day this week and last week. So we already have 1,000. That was, I think, as of this morning. I wouldn't be surprised if this number is already larger. We had 1,838 students who started profiles. This is the class of 2027. 155 high schools represented and 482 counselors with active accounts. And so we have included here our top 10 performing high schools, meaning the high schools that have onboarded the largest numbers of students so far. So really, really exciting to see that even before we've had the software training, so many schools just kind of getting back on campus and getting into it. And seeing this number of students build profiles already is just really encouraging and exciting. Students build those profiles. Again, we have those resources that walk them through the profile question by question. We'll take a look at what a profile looks like as well from your counselor portal, so you can see that. But the other required piece that we'll talk through is the transcript submission. So as I mentioned, students need to demonstrate their grades through a transcript upload. It has to contain all of their courses and grades from freshman year on up. Transcripts can be unofficial, so these don't have to be official transcripts. They do just need to contain those 3 years of grades. If you've had students who have transferred, or if their grades exist in multiple documents, students are able to upload more than one transcript in order to meet that 3-year requirement. One of the pieces as well that we'll talk about is the unique way that Match handles student data and our sort of commitment to student data privacy. So as part of this process, so the students build profiles, prior to profiles being accessible by universities, so before institutions can review students and evaluate them for admission, the profile itself is anonymized. So that includes the redaction of any kind of PII or identifying information from the transcript. So the transcripts are anonymized, the profiles are anonymized. That information is not shared with our universities. The only person who's able to release that information to an institution is the student, and the student would only be able to do that after an offer has been received. And that's a process too that we'll walk through, is kind of what happens after the students get an offer, what do they need to do, what do they not need to do, and we'll make that all clearer as we get further down through our walkthrough today. So transcripts are required. How do we get the transcripts? So great question. There are a few different options available. The recommended option, and this is something that a lot of schools and districts are already taking advantage of, we've in fact already received transcripts from some schools, is our bulk option. So we have, I think Corey is going to drop a link to a form where you're able to request or kind of raise your hand and say, this is the option that we would like to pursue on our campus, where you are able, we set up a secure Box folder, it's a secure SharePoint, where you are able to share a PDF or PDF transcripts in bulk and do it once. And then we're able to kind of map and attach the transcripts to students as accounts are created. That is kind of a manual attaching process. So it's something that we see when a school is onboarded. We then log in and do, there's some work that we do on the back end to map those transcripts. So it's, we're able to hold them in bulk. We also will ask for typically a CSV, where we have a column for the student's first name, last name, date of birth, and then we say a unique identifier. So that can be a student ID number, it could be an email address, and that is what we use to then split and map the transcripts to student accounts. That is going to be the recommended option. It's something that's easy for you. It's kind of a one-step process. You just upload the transcripts to a folder and we sort of do the rest. The other two options are kind of individual file upload. So this is if you're working with kind of smaller numbers of students, you as a counselor are able to upload transcripts individually within the student's profile. I'll show you where you're able to do that. And then the final option is that students are also able to provide transcripts on their own. Every campus is different. Sometimes it's easy for students to get a copy of their unofficial transcripts. Sometimes it isn't. So that is, again, we're presenting you with options, and then you get to determine which works best for you. For the recommendation, again, for larger numbers of students is going to be to complete that form and to share transcripts in bulk with us. So that'll make the process even easier for you, realistically. So you can share the transcripts, share the resources, and we're able to sort of facilitate on the back end. So again, this is the only required document that students need to provide or have provided for them on their behalf is transcripts. Over the next few weeks, right, leading up to that profile deadline, this is the work, right? Getting profiles created, sharing transcripts. Let's now jump to early October when offers land. So of course, there's a lot of sort of like fanfare and excitement, and these acceptances are out. Students are getting emails. Counselors are also getting notified on that offer release day. And the students would log in and review their offers. Educators, in your portal, you will also get access to an offer dashboard, which we'll look at together as well. And let's take a look at what those offers will look like from the student's perspective. So this is sort of an example of what a student will see when they log into their Match portal on October 1st. They have acceptances. They're able to see at a high level which universities that have offered them admission. And the offers include a lot of detail as well. So we're going to take a look on the next slide of offer breakdown so you can see kind of how this information is shared. But they'll see merit scholarship awards, they'll see program information, so which kind of majors or concentrations they've been admitted to at the school. There are virtual tours if available, and there's also information on the FAFSA. So that school's FAFSA code, instructions on how to make sure that the student is being evaluated for their full financial aid award package. So within an offer, again, like this is sort of a more detailed breakdown. This is what the student sees. There's the name of the institution. The student is able to click view offer details to pull up a module that will show them the academic programs they've been admitted to, scholarships. Intake dates for these are really all going to be fall 2027, but this is kind of a breakdown. The student should be able to see all of this in one window to get a clear snapshot of, okay, what is this institution offering me? Is this something I'm excited about? And then, of course, responding to the offer is the key step at this stage. So again, we talked about profile anonymization. We talked about transcript redaction. The student is anonymous to these institutions. And even after a university has offered admission to a student, the student is still anonymous to them. So they've sent the offer through Match, but that university cannot create an acceptance package. They cannot create an offer letter until and unless the student responds to the offer and indicates that they're interested in it. So one really clear piece is that when these students get offers through Match, they do not and they should not apply to the university. They do not need to then go complete an application. The offer is their acceptance. In order to claim it, all they need to do is to provide a response to the offer. So students get these offers. They see two very clear response options. They'll see a red X, which is the student effectively saying like, thanks, but no thanks. It's not an opportunity that I'm interested in. The university never receives the student data, and that the kind of closes off the offer at that point. So the students can say they're not interested. The other option is to say, okay, I'm interested in this opportunity. Clicking interested, it's not a commitment to the university. So as Corey mentioned, I think on average last year, students clicked interested in 3 different offers. So interest is not a commitment. It's non-binding from the student's perspective. But what clicking interested does is it allows the university to receive the student's data. So this student says, okay, I'm interested. We have data integrations with our university partners where that student's information is then migrated directly into that university CRM, where that is now an officially admitted student. The student from that point is going to get acceptance package, their offer letter. It's not going to be like an immediate thing. It's something that might take a day or two for them to hear from the university, depending on how the institution has their communication set up. But so all the student needs to do is respond to the offer. That data transfer takes place, and then they'll be receiving admitted student communications right from those institutions. Go ahead, Corey. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to help address some questions that have come in the chat because they're related to 2 things, the students responding as well as the scholarships. So I just want to double down on this, that institutions do not know who these students are until they respond. They're not in their system, they're in the Match system until the student accepts and says, yes, I would like to move forward. That is what's creating the admitted student record at that institution. It does take some time. We send those daily in real time when students accept to the institutions. However, it does take probably about 2 to 4 business days for those institutions to then be ready to send communication directly to your students. But it is on the institution to follow up with like a congratulations again on being admitted through the Alabama Direct Admission Match Program, right? And then they should receive next steps. Those next steps are going to heavily vary by institution because they're all individual institutions. So the next steps should be clear from each college. And we have communicated a lot of feedback from this program to the colleges and worked with them over the summer to work on communications and make sure that it is buttoned up and they know exactly what the direct admitted students need to do. And so we're really hoping for year 2 that is more seamless. But again, like, just want to reiterate that every individual college is going to have an individual next step process because they all have different admitted student steps. And then if Marissa, can you jump back to the breakdown of the offer really quick? I just want to go over the scholarship piece because there were some questions in here and I feel like it'd be good for everyone to hear. If you zero in on the scholarship bar, you see where it says guaranteed scholarships. There are two different options of scholarships that colleges can do. They can either do a guaranteed scholarship to the student, meaning they could award based on their GPA or their academic record on match. So that is guaranteed. That is the student's annual scholarship at that institution, or it's a one-time scholarship. Those details are there for the student. But there's also another option if institutions need a test score, or they need a class rank, or they need something else for their scholarship matrix. They will say, this scholarship is not guaranteed, but here is the range that you are likely eligible for based on your GPA and based on your transcript and the information we have. So students are likely to get that once they've completed their FAFSA and they've gotten their full financial package from the institution. We do this by design to keep it flexible so that all institutions can participate and feel comfortable about this process. So I just wanted to double down on that and show you all that. Marissa is actually gonna, when she goes into the demo, she's gonna show you where you can see this in your educator account too. Because I think some counselors or educators were just looking at the total scholarship across all 4 years and just seeing that like one number, which is still there and is still a great number to use. But if you're talking with an individual student, having them show you the offer details or you going in your account and looking at that student's offer, those are the two things that I just wanted to clarify and just make sure that that's clear. That institutions, it's fully up to them on the scholarships that they show and whether they're guaranteed or not guaranteed, and it's that range. Again, we try to make it as accessible and flexible as possible so as many colleges can participate, but some of them require different things and some will just use GPA. So that's how it will look. Thanks, Marissa.
Yeah. And so I will, when we get to the platform, I'm going to show the high level offer data, scholarship data, but I'm also going to show, like Corey mentioned, where you're able to drill down and see, okay, how exactly was this presented to the student? And you'll get a kind of a version of what the student has seen as well. So you can get the high level and you can also get the more granular information. So just again, not to double down on Corey's doubling down, the responding to the offer is very important, right? In order for that university to receive the student's information, they have to log in and respond interested. They do not need to apply. Again, the student does not need to go complete an application. They just need to respond to the offer. And it's important to remember as counselors as well. I think this has happened. I know anecdotally, this has happened at least once where a student gets an offer on match and they might call that admission office and say, I'm an admitted student. They try to look the student up in the system and they don't exist because the student never responded to their offer. So in order for the university to have any contact details of the student, to have that student in their system at all as an admit, the student has to click interested on the offer. That is what our system uses to release the student's information. So again, super important. I am going to show you where you're able to see that in the platform. And I'm also going to show you where you're able to nudge students quickly and easily who have offers that have not received a response yet. So when the student click interested in an offer, there is a step where students are going to have to confirm things like their full legal name, their permanent address, their date of birth. So they are going to confirm some of those really important details that the university needs to create their admitted student record. There is also a residency walkthrough that students would be completing. So it's required, something that's required by Alabama state law. It'll only show up if the student is accepting an offer from a public Alabama college or university. It's just asking the students to certify that they are a legal resident of Alabama in order to finalize that admission. And this is consistent, I believe, with last year as well. So this is what the process has been. All right, so just keeping an eye on the time, and I want to make sure we're able to get to like a live Q&A. I'm going to actually switch gears and we're going to get right into the counselor dashboard. So again, if you haven't requested an account quite yet, I would encourage you to do that. If you've requested an account during our time together today, do know that we're going to be logging in and approving those after this call wraps up. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to zoom in a bit, just to make sure, depending on what size your screen is, it may be easier to see. This is your home screen dashboard. We're going to walk through the features that are available to you, but I first wanted to, again, point out the educator toolkit where you're able to access a lot of these resources that can support you in the onboarding process. We have all kinds. We have the poster, we have counselor toolkits, we have student walkthroughs that link to different onboarding resources as well that you're able to use. Even has email copy that you can send out to students and families. So please check out that toolkit. It's something that Corey and folks have worked really hard to make resources that are very plug and play and allow this to be something that is, again, accessible to all of your students without being something that you're not having to create new resources or create new communications to make this happen on your campus. So definitely check out those folders. We have, again, those onboarding resources available here. If we jump back to our counselor portal, before we get into our dashboard, I am first going to walk through a few of the options in your kind of tool navigation bar here up at the top. The first place I want to point your attention is this little gear icon where it says My School here at the top. This is helpful during the onboarding process for students. It's going to show exactly how your school is listed in our system. So again, there are high schools that have super common last names. They might have, 100 different high schools across the United States with the same name. How many Lincoln high schools are there? So it'll have the name of your school, and then in parentheses, it may say Alabama. So that will tell your students exactly the school they should be selecting during the sign-up process. And, making sure that students are selecting the right high school is just going to make sure they're showing up in your dashboard, that any bulk transcript uploads work smoothly. So that is a good place to check. Again, the gear icon, click into My School. That's where you can find your school name. It is also, and this part is optional, where you're able to add an overview of your school or upload a school profile. So again, the profile piece of the overview is less important, but finding that school name is what's going to be really helpful and kind of directing your students in the right way. And then right next door, I'm going to quickly point out the tutorials tab. So we have resources in the toolkit. We have guides that have screenshots, but we also have a more robust tutorials tab that has walkthrough videos for you as counselors. So again, this is, of course, Matches facilitating the Alabama Goes to College initiative, but we are a global platform. We work with counselors around the world. So some of these are kind of just more general tools or more general tutorials, but it walks you through the platform feature. So I'm going to show you archiving live, but if you're doing this tomorrow and you're like, what did Marissa say? Check out the tutorial. It's 30 seconds. It makes it really easy for you. But scrolling down, we also have, and this year we've added the Alabama student onboarding right into this tutorials tab. So you'll be able to click and the students can you can share this. This is a place where you can quickly and easily access that student onboarding video as well. So lots of really awesome resources that we can push out for students to help guide them through that registration process. When students sign up, they're selecting their high school. They would then be able to select their counselor as well. And provided that the student has selected the correct high school during the registration process, that is what will allow them to appear on your dashboard. So before I walk through the features and the different ways we can encourage students to complete profiles, for those of you who are returning year over year, let's take a look at that archiving feature. So what you would be able to do, the quickest, easiest way to do this is I would filter by graduation year. So you can filter for any student that has a grad year of 2026. You would select all of the students. So you can click this box here up at the top and then scroll all the way down and make sure you're selecting all of the students that have that grad year. So checking this box in the corner is just selecting the first page of students. Scroll all the way down, make sure you've clicked select all, make sure that all of the students are selected, and then you'll be able to scroll up to bulk action and archive. So archiving does not delete student data, it just removes them from your dashboard. Once students are archived, their offer data will also be removed from your offer dashboard. But there are places you can kind of pull those students up and to see that data again. But again, once students are archived, their offer data is also removed from your offer dashboard. So everything is sort of clean and nice and ready to welcome your class of 2027. So again, filter for class of 26, make sure all of the students are selected, and then you're going to bulk action archive. All right, so your dashboard is really meant to be a snapshot of how students are progressing through the process. So when students are following along with those kind of sign-up materials and those onboarding materials that we have, they will begin to populate. And the big things, again, leading up into the deadline in a few weeks, encouraging students to complete their profiles. So any student that exists in these first two buckets, and students can exist in both of those buckets, are in progress profiles. They've started them, they have not completed them. Again, the recommendation is for you to let us take care of the bulk transcript uploads, so you wouldn't necessarily need to concern yourself with students here. But for any profile that's missing information, we make it really easy to send a reminder. So within this bucket here, you can click on nudge, the platform will automatically select all of the students whose profiles are in progress and missing information. It pulls up this text box here. We have some kind of standard, a few standard sentences, but you're able to add in, customize it however you want, and then click that nudge and the students would receive an email notification. Again, this is something that you can log in, once a day, once every 4 days, once a week, find everybody who's in progress, send them a nudge, and something that you can do within 20 seconds.
One thing I wanted to mention here, it does nudge the students to the email account that they used when they created their profile. And we do recommend that students use their personal email addresses, as they may lose access to their school email addresses in the summer. So again, this nudge will actually go directly to the email that they've used when they signed up.
Yes. So nudge makes it really nice and easy for you to send those reminders out to larger group numbers of students. We send them reminders. They get emails from us regularly as well, and they'll increase, of course, as we get closer to the deadline. But we make it really easy for you to be able to send those bulk reminders out. The other piece, of course, is the transcript upload. Again, we do recommend that counselors are using, or educators use, the file sharing. If you do have students where you want to upload transcripts individually, to open up a profile, you just click this checkbox next to the student's name. It will pull open their profile here on the right, and you would be able to upload the transcript in the Documents tab. So from here, you just click Add Document, and you'd be able to upload an in-progress transcript. So those are the two recommended ways for grades to be shared. Again, the SharePoint that we can set up for you, or individual transcript upload. I do want to point out, you'll see there is a bulk transcript option. We're going to recommend that counselors don't use this year. Last year ended up kind of causing more issues. Folks had to set, in order to utilize this feature, you have to create a zip file. That caused some trouble last year. So again, for the bulk upload option, the recommendation is to fill in the form and share them through Box, or to upload transcripts individually, or have students upload those transcripts individually. In addition to being able to upload the transcripts here, you'll notice that each section of the student's profile has this little pencil icon. This is where you're able to open up that section of the profile if you ever needed to. So if a student is incomplete and you're curious what they're missing, you can open it up. You are able to make edits to this profile as well. Again, this is meant to be student driven, but this is a place where you're able to make those edits and adjustments. I am just keeping my eye on the time and want to make sure we're able to stay on for additional questions. So once student profiles are completed, once transcripts have been attached, profiles will move over to this active bucket, which means they are ready for university review, and kind of the student is ready and able to participate in the in this initiative. You'll notice there's this little stopover, which are profiles ready for certification. These are profiles that are technically complete, meaning the student has a transcript, the required questions have been completed, but the student has not published or submitted their profile. This is not typical, sort of the first time a student submits their profile, but students can come back and make edits and adjustments to their profile as the year goes on. So what sometimes happens is a student might change their academic program of interest, but they forget to click that publish button to push the new version of their profile forward. So as a counselor, you're able to see students in this state, and you're able to click to certify them, which is what pushes their profile forward. So if you ever see students in that stage and you're like, I'm not sure, what does this mean? It just means the profile is technically complete, it just has not been submitted. And you can't go ahead and click certify, which would push that version of the profile forward and move the student into the active bucket, which again means they are ready for university review. And this is what, just quickly, a completed profile sort of would look like. This is an international student, but the questions that the student would respond to are the same. Okay. Profiles are completed. This is our goal, right? For September 14th, to have as many students as possible in that profiles are active bucket, having transcripts shared, having students sort of ready to participate and be evaluated for admission. What I now want to flip to is the offer dashboard. So let's fast forward to October 1st. Offers have landed. Students are excited. You're excited. What access to information do you have? So on the offer dashboard, there are up at the top sort of high level offer information. So you'll see the name of your school, the total offers and scholarship delivered to students across the school, as well as on the left, the individual counselor breakdown. So if you are a school that has multiple counselors, you would be able to see at a high level, okay, how did my students do compared to the school? And then you're able to see, again, those results broken out in that way. You're also able to download, we call it a badge. It's like a PNG, which is it's like a cute little visual that, again, shows the offers and scholarships. And sometimes folks post this on LinkedIn or share it with families or internal stakeholders and school leadership. So you're able to download that there. But then scrolling down, this is where you're able to see offers in greater detail. So again, by checking the box next to the student's name, it's going to pull their offers open for you here on the right, and you'll be able to see the university that's offered them admission, programs, scholarships. And again, these are the scholarships we had mentioned, which are compounded. So this is Pawnee University likely offered a $10,000 per year scholarship, which equals out to $40,000 across the length of the student's degree program. I'm going to show you before we switch gears on how you're able to see the breakdown of scholarship information from a different view. But here, again, it's meant to show you high level, what offers did the students get, what scholarships. There is an offer response deadline. This is not a deposit deadline. This is just the last day the student can log in and respond to the offer. So again, responding is really important. Typically, the students have 30 to 60 days not to commit to the university, just to respond to the offer so that their information can be shared and their admitted student record can be created. What I want to show you is, again, we want to encourage students to respond to their offers. So we make it easy for you to filter for any offers that still need a response, meaning the student has not provided a response to all of their offers. And you're able to select, again, all of the students with offers that need a response and send them a nudge. So again, something you can do quickly and easily to pull together students who have not engaged with offers and send them that reminder. So those are the big pieces, again, as educators, as folks on campus, nudging students to complete profiles, making sure that they're engaging with their offers and responding. The offer dashboard, again, you can also export a spreadsheet of offers from this screen, which makes reporting really nice and easy. But this is really meant to be sort of that high level offer information. You can drill down per student, but offer information lives in another place as well, which would be back on your home screen within the student's profile. So if we open up a student who's gotten offers, you'll see there's a new tab that appears called admissions. This is the view we were talking about that's able to show you that breakdown of scholarship. If it's a one-time or an annual scholarship, kind of how this information is presented to the students. So if you have someone in your office and you're not sure, how the data was presented, or there's a question about scholarships, this is another place where you're able to look. And again, the scholarships that are coming through Match are going to be those merit-based scholarships. For the student to be eligible or to be evaluated for a full financial aid award package, they would have to indicate interest in the offer so that their data is shared with the institution, and the student would then need to add that university to their FAFSA to be evaluated for their full aid package. Yes, so that's the important piece, responding to the offers, encouraging students to do that. I know I'm keeping my eye on the clock. That was everything I was hoping to cover. I don't know, Corey, if there's anything you want me to emphasize here.
I don't know if you could easily flip over to like a student profile view, but it may be helpful.
Sure.
There's been a lot of questions about the ACT score input and just,
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to show what students key in for their ACT and how that logic works on the platform for ACT, as well as we do also provide SAT options. Someone had asked like if they should upload the document that shows their score. They can upload more documents beyond just the transcript. But most institutions know that the way that we're collecting the scores, they're unverified. So they're not anticipating a document, but if the student provided a document, we do actually share that with the institution. So it could save time and like skip that step after the fact for the student, but it's up to them. So it's optional on whether or not like they want to upload the official document of the score.
And this is what we're looking at here is a student profile view. Again, this is a demo student. So we would click into transcripts, grades, and scores. This is where students are able to individually upload transcripts. But if we click continue, this is where they're able to see how they're able to self-report their scores. And so this is what it looks like from the student perspective. Again, we are working to update this module to align with the new how science is optional moving forward. But for now, I think the recommendation is to have students, if they haven't finished science, to mark this as a 0, if I recall correctly. Yes, so the students be able to put in their individual scores, leave this blank. Universities would receive the individual scores for each module. So this is essentially what
Yeah.
the student's able to report it.
Someone had
Counselors,
asked about uploading the test scores from their phone. If they're doing this profile on their phone, they're still going to have to put the scores in individually like this, which compiles the composite, and then the date of test score. So, and if they're super scoring, I believe what we've recommended is like use the top score for each one and then the most recent date, which will then get the composite for that super score.
and here I'm just showing as well in the student profile from your counselor view, there's a credentials tab and you're able to see the ACT score from here as well. So the students can input it, and technically you have the same ability to add this information to the profile if you'd like.
So before we start into other questions or Q&A session, I just wanted to reiterate where these toolkits and the resources are available, because everything that we went over today, we know we went over a lot. They are located on the Alabama Direct Admission Initiative page underneath the Educator Toolkit section. And there's, again, toolkits in there, there's tutorials. We even have a new section for student and family communication, where there's a template of an email that you can actually send to all of your seniors. You can send to all the parents of seniors about the initiative with all the appropriate links and information. And we do have an updated student and family flyer about the program too, and what their like next steps are. One of the pages essentially says like, you've got an offer, now what? And it really goes into deep detail around what to do once you've gotten. There's a lot of like robust resources, materials in there. And then I just wanted to end on, Marissa, you can go to the next slide. I just wanted to end on like a few key next steps. If you haven't created your Match Educator or Counselor account today, like definitely work on that, do that. If you run into any technical issues, I'm going to put this email in the chat. Please reach out to both of us and we will investigate what's going on with your account to help you and problem solve really quickly. It's counselorengagement@eab.com. That goes directly to Marissa's team and we can troubleshoot and help through that. The next thing I just wanted to remind everyone, the new date for the profile deadline is September 14th. It is a little earlier than last year, so just keep that in mind. We do have the September 2nd webinar that Xiomara mentioned. We will be back. Marissa and I are going to talk a little bit more about offer review, deep diving, going through an offer, how students accept an offer, and then talk about like some of those next steps too. And then October 1st is the first round of offers coming out. Again, that's the big day ahead of the free application week. So those are the quick reminders I wanted to give everyone. But that really concludes like the formal piece of our presentation. We do want to allow like time for Q&A and like questions. But I'm going to kick it over to the Alabama Possible crew to see, do you want to go through our next steps? Marissa, I think there was one question that came up around where to enter the test scores on the counselor dashboard.
I'm just going to say, I can pull it back up.
Pull it back up.
So on your counselor dashboard, when you would have to open up that student's profile, you check the little box next to their name. It pulls open their profile here on the right. Sorry, if you see, I'm not sure if you can see the poll pop up still in the middle of my screen. So within the profile, the default view is going to be here to the student's profile. You're going to click over to credentials, and then you would find the SAT and ACT modules in here. You would click on the pencil icon, and this is where you're able to input that information. This is for the manual input. You are able to also upload if you have it in a PDF format and you want to upload it as a document, you would be able to add it here. So you just click the option B ACT score, and then you could upload the PDF from there. So again, credentials tab, manual reporting, docs tab is where you can upload a PDF.
So just to take a look at what's coming up over the next few months, we do have our college application season kickoff webinar next week at 10:30 a.m. We will review free college application week. We will also have EAB back with us to share a little bit more of the direct admissions, as Corey mentioned earlier today. We also will have our FAFSA Summit in person on Wednesday, September 9th from 10 to 2 p.m. We do still have some open spots, so register as soon as you can. We do have the agenda also linked in our events page where you can find what we'll be doing that day. But EAB will also be joining us, and we'll have a session for direct admissions as well that day. Then, if you can't join us for our in-person, you can always join us for our virtual webinars for Cash for College FAFSA 101. You choose your webinar based on your experience. You could do the beginners Wednesday, September 29th at 10:30 a.m. Or if you have a little more experience, you can join us September 30th for our webinar at 10:30 a.m. And next slide, some other webinars we also have coming up: Exploring Career Pathways, October 14th at 10:30 a.m. We have our College Admissions 101 Part 1 for our in-state institutions at 10:30 a.m. And then we have our Cash for College Scholarships 101 webinar on November 4th. And you'll find a full list of our upcoming webinars at alabamapossible.org/events, and you can register there too. And you can always call us, text us at our help desk line. We're here for you, your students, and families all year round. Just call us at 334-316-6155 from Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the exceptions of federal holidays. And then, as always, stay connected. You can visit our website, alabamagoestocollege.org. You can call or text us again at 334-316-6155, or you can contact us via email at algoestocollege@alabamapossible.org. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to working with you this school year.
Sorry, I just want to share my screen really quick. There was one question on finding the tutorial video that helps students complete their profile. So again, on the Alabama Direct Admission page, there's the educator info section. You click to access the counselor toolkit. In the educator toolkit folder, there is a specific section for student onboarding. And if you open that PDF just up on a screen, the second page is actually going to have links to the video. So there's the student profile tutorial. You can play that in a classroom setting. You could also like send that link to students. It's a walkthrough. There's also a slide deck, like if you have learners who want not a video, but they want to see visually step by step, there's slides on creating every single piece of the profile. And it goes through step by step and breaks that down. So hopefully that helps. There's also, again, a video tutorial for uploading transcripts, and even just more detail around some of the questions we ask that are optional. If they want to put more preference information in there, they can. And then that is the link to be able to be shared with students on how to start.
Or I tried to note a few that might have gotten missed, but when students are creating their profiles and they're receiving that error about the activation key not being valid, is there a solve? We had already gotten a couple emails about it, so there has been a response, but I didn't know if there was a solution you could share with everyone on the webinar.
You're saying for students that are having like
Students who are receiving an error that says the activation key is not valid when they're trying to create their password.
Key is not valid. Let me check in with Marissa. I know she had to hop off.
Yeah.
She is the expert on the student experience side, unfortunately. But we could share that up in the follow-up email of the webinar.
Okay.
On what that is. Yeah, he is getting activation key is not valid. Okay.
And then for folks who are going up to that gear icon in the educator view and they're not seeing their high school, is that because y'all are in the process of validating
We
them?
have to verify their account. So it will take, we have a whole team. They know that we have this webinar. They know folks are creating. So actually between today and tomorrow, we'll be verifying and approving accounts.
Okay, perfect.
It doesn't happen instantly. There is actually a human intervention that happens, but for good reason. These are high schools and high school students. We just want to verify that you are who you say you are at that school.
And then I'll just reiterate for everyone, because it's something that I see on my end a lot. when students are searching for their high school, we mentioned how there might be the parentheses with Alabama in it to ensure that they are selecting the correct high school. We strongly encourage a thorough search for the correct high school because manually inputting a high school does require a lot of data cleanup on the back end. For as much time as you can spend making sure that the student is finding their correct high school, it is definitely worth the time investment. So we appreciate y'all supporting with that. Well, thank you, Corey. We appreciate you and Marissa for leading this, and we look forward to seeing y'all next week as well.